We're waiting for the recording to start.
Recording is on.
Here we go. Welcome everyone to the DXbiz Dev Call for Monday, 9th of May, 2022. On the agenda today, we have quite a few new member introductions. We have Orca presenting here, and then under DXbiz discussions, we have the DXGov product suite and the road to governance 2.0. And under DX events, we have ECC, DX Hack, and DevCon Bogota. And yeah, I think there's a lot on the agenda, so let's get started. And so I think for the member introductions, I think we have Ashley here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley, and here's a view of the La Défense in Paris in case you missed a view early on. So I'm very interested in joining DXDAO, and this is my first call. I'm very excited to introducing myself. I am a lawyer currently based in Paris. I am a US qualified lawyer, so I was trained in New York and also worked in Hong Kong as a corporate lawyer, and later I joined fintech startups and also SaaS. And it was really my passion for the intersection of blockchain, DAO, and also law that really brought me here. And I think for me, what I find incredibly exciting about what DXDAO is doing and also what I want to contribute is really to help shaping the development of DAO, as it is still a very, especially from a legal point of view, it's a very ambiguous, it's an uncharted territory, which I'm very excited to explore. And I think I have a lot of passion for this field, and I'm really willing to contribute in any way that is possible for this community. So I just want to listen to what everyone's discussing and trying to figure out what are the missing pieces of DXDAO and how I can contribute more. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you for joining and welcome. I think you're already talking to Melanie. And yeah, like that's kind of the road forward. And yeah, I think so. Next up, we don't have anyone else new, right?
We do actually have one more new member introduction. Dino, if you're available, just to give a quick intro.
Yeah, sure. Well, hello everyone. I'm Dino. I'm from Argentina. I used to be an accountant for 8 years, and well, during that time I've been programming on and off. And last year I decided to. I was programming anyway, so why not switch careers to being a dev? So well, I started doing courses. I attended to a boot camp. I got full time on it, and I joined DXDAO mainly. I heard it through Augusto. I'm a friend of him since we were like around 15 years. And well, he told me about DXDAO and everythth you were doing here, and it was extremely interesting to join an organization that's working on Web3. It's like the edge of the edge. So I was extremely interested in joining, and well, he told me to let him know when I finish, and here I am.
Great, welcome.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, welcome.
Cool, thanks.
So yeah, I guess you are in the Keybase, so feel free to reach out to Melanie and yeah, I guess continue your onboarding. Yeah, so up next we have Frog Monkey from Orca. And yeah, do you want to just take it away?
Yeah, sure. So hey guys, I'm Frog over at Orca. Like I mentioned, Jules was supposed to join us, but unfortunately had a last minute thing. I think in the interest of time, it seems like you guys have a lot to cover. I'm kind of just going to get straight into the meat of it here. So Orca is basically an on-chain sub-DAO implementation that uses a permissions layer wrapped around a Gnosis safe. I do want to talk a bit about how the sort of product works, and then from there, sort of depending on time, talk a bit about how DXDAO is organized at sort of an architectural level, like organizational design, and see if we can map some of those DXDAO's like organizational model onto pods and see if it's like a good fit for sort of our private beta. I guess for some context, we're basically expanding our private beta. We've worked with Tribe, FireEyes, and ENS, and we're trying to like expand more, onboard more people. But it's still a closed beta, so we're being a bit selective of which kind of partners we want to work with. And so we want to work with partners that have a strong use case or a strong need to actually port their organizational model into pods. And so the first thing I want to do is just kind of go through what pods are. For that, we've put together a video. So I'm just going to share my screen. It's like a 3-minute video. It's not super long. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll just walk through that video here.
Sounds good.
All right. Can you guys see?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Hopefully, let me know if the audio does not come through. Please say something.
Hey everyone, Dan here from Orca Protocol, and today I'm going to spend a little time giving a high-level overview of Orca Protocol. Just to set some context, as DAOs mature, they begin to delegate responsibilities away from token holders and towards specialized groups of people. These can be working groups, councils, committees, departments, guilds, or whatever name best suits the group. These groups occupy a principal-agent relationship in that the group or the agent gains legitimacy through its relationship to the DAO or the principal. So for example, perhaps the DAO may approve a charter that defines the scope of work for this working group. Maybe the DAO has processes for granting or clawing back funds, and maybe they even hold elections to decide who gets to be a part of the group. However, usually these relationships exist on paper. They rely on the principal and agents abiding by these agreed upon rules, which are prone to human error and exploitation. Where Orca Protocol comes in is that we formalize these relationships on chain. So just to get into the details, there are 2 components of Orca Protocol to be aware of. There are pods and memberships, and there are admins and admin keys. A pod itself is a permissions layer built around a Gnosis safe. The key difference is that a seed on the multisig is represented through a membership NFT. Signers can be added by minting a new NFT or removed by burning the NFT. An admin has governance rights over a pod, represented by an admin key. Some examples of admin powers include the unilateral ability to add or remove members from the multisig, or even claw back funds from the multisig. Admin keys can be held by pod members, another pod, or even a smart contract like Governor Bravo. There's a variability in pod configurations that allow DAOs to design sub-DAO implementations that best fit their community. And I'm going to use the next minute or 2 just to walk through some examples of these pod configurations. The first is this dictator model, where there's one user who serves as the admin over the pods. So in this model, the admin has the unilateral right to add or remove members from the project dev or the project marketing pods. Another example of a pod configuration is this token republic, where the DAO token holders have the right to add or remove members from the pods in which they govern. There's also a high council model. So instead of having the token holders vote on who sits on the pods, maybe there is a representative group that has this right. There's also a roundtable model where there are no admins. So every decision to add or remove a member must go up for vote. There's also an embedded admin model where instead of having a group of token holders or a representative pod serving as an admin, there's an individual user that sits on the pod and serves as that operational admin to add or remove members. The reason why you may want this is to increase some of the operational efficiency in terms of membership management. And that's it. I hope that helped you gain a better understanding of.
Yeah, so that's it for that video. We have a separate video that kind of goes into an actual product demo, but I think that's kind of out of scope for this right now. Any questions about how, at least based on that like initial presentation, any questions on how pods kind of work?
Yeah, I think like if I'm understanding this correctly, it's essentially it's a supercharged Gnosis safe where you can have like a lot more, like kind of like a module for many people to vote, or an admin that decides who is inside that multi-sig, with the burning and minting of the NFTs. And yeah, like, am I getting this like overall correctly?
Yeah, so it's basically a permissions layer that's built around Gnosis Safe multisigs. I think what often happens is if you create a working group or something, right, you'll go out and spin up a multi-sig around that, but that multi-sig is not really controlled or managed by a higher entity, right? Sort of that principal agent relationship that Dan was talking about. You're kind of reliant on that multi-sig or the signers of that multi-sig to sort of act in good faith. So all that sort of Orca protocol and pods do is it creates a permissions layer around that multi-sig that allows some type of principal, such as like sort of the management of that multi-sig, to have some sort of powers over that multi-sig, which in this case is mostly in its current instantiation is just the ability to sort of like rotate members on that multi-sig and clawback funds, sort of as like an initial V1 of pods as it stands.
I have
Yeah.
a question.
Okay.
Yep, go ahead.
Orca protocol as a protocol, is it like a smart contract that's trustless, and is it like all open source? Like how
Yep.
dependent on you as a company are your users? Like you probably want to monetize it and you're charging a fee. So is it like a Web3 product or a Web2 product? Like what happens when you go out of business, like, or something happens with the front end?
Yeah, so it is a Web3 product. I mean, it is like we have trustless, permissionless smart contracts. We haven't quite figured out sort of the monetization model yet. We're kind of focused on just making sure that there's like actual product market fit, and this is like a tool that DAOs want to use. We do have an SDK, which is open source. We do have a front end, which we host, but is not required in order to actually use Orca protocol. Just makes it a bit easier to handle. But to that extent, like our users are not dependent on us to manage the protocol or manage the product. The only sort of like permission that is required is because we're in private beta. You need a specific token, right, like an ERC20 token, which gives you access to the smart contracts. But as soon as we launch fully, that permission goes away, and anyone that wants to interact with our smart contracts and our SDK can.
Okay. Yeah, you can clap. Yeah, so maybe I don't know if you know how DXDAO sort of like operates, but we're not the standard of kind of a snapshot token voting and a multisig that executes that. We like, for all intents and purposes, it's similar to Bravo, and we have a fully on-chain governance system that's using its rather reputation, which is non-transferable voting power, and not tokens. We do have plans to like transition to essentially like different voting formula and like different fractalization, if I can call it, like methods with inside sort of like DXDAO for guilds, and then yeah, we obviously, some of our teams, we have like a sort of like a marketing multi-sig and a biz dev multi-sig and a dev multi-sig and stuff like that. So I'm trying to figure out like how will this be able to, like how we will be able to use this. And a few things come in mind, like from what you said, and I think like a bunch of other people here also have ideas. So yeah, I don't know if anyone else wants to jump in, but yeah.
So that's typically the first exercise that we end up going through, which is like asking, all the DAOs that we are potentially partnering with, like, what does your organizational model look like, right? If you were to map out your organization's design, um, into voting blocks, working groups, committees, councils, just whatever terminology kind of makes sense. Like, what does that look like, right? Because from there, it becomes relatively simple to map that onto a pod structure. Um, and so, like, I think of all the people that I've talked with, like, DXDAO is the one that I'm least familiar with, and so I tried to do a little bit of, like, research ahead of time, but I didn't really find anything, to sort of, like, elucidate that point.
So I think where it might be interesting is the permissions layer for multisigs that DXDAO uses. Like, can you integrate with existing multisigs?
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, because I mean, structurally, like there's like the main DAO, it's originally like a DAO stack framework. Then, multisigs are getting used kind of on a small, like per squad basis. And it's usually just like the contributors in that squad, which usually have some voting power in the DAO. So it like there's a model there where like they're maybe like trustworthy, but it's not directly controlled by the DAO, other than like funds are kind of metered out to the multi-sigs like a little bit at a time. So it could be interesting to have like direct governance control over multi-sigs and kind of formalize these multi-sigs as like subgroups within the DAO. But yeah, other than that, like products wise, like we're moving we actually have a lot of governance. We have a whole governance team and a lot of like stuff actually being developed at DXDAO itself, on the governance framework side.
Yeah, I think when it comes to governance frameworks, like that's something that we're pretty compatible with, and that's not the sort of domain that we're trying to expand into. We're more focused on um, creating like a sub-DAO implementation that reflects like on-chain relationships between sort of the principal and the agent, right? So working groups, multi-sigs, and uh, whatever power or like whatever legitimacy those working groups gain by a broader agent. So kind of thinking about the multi-sigs you have in place, right? I heard like marketing, biz dev. It seems like you basically have these departments or functional teams. I guess my question is like, do those teams obviously they receive? I'm assuming they sort of receive funding from the broader DAO treasury, correct?
So the way contributors are paid across the teams is through proposals to the DAO itself. Like, so unlike like probably most projects that you work with that are like leveraging a multi-sig to disperse funds from the treasury, like it's actually directly controlled by DXDAO.
Sure. So like a governor contract.
It's not governor, but yeah, you could think of it like that.
Similar, right? Okay. And I guess like how do members of these different teams get selected? Is it sort of like is there like a voting process to decide who sits on the marketing multisig or the marketing team, or is it sort of like the marketing team kind of decides within itself who to add to the team and who to take off?
Yeah, like the multi-sigs are, yeah, I would say more like the team is deciding who should be on this multi-sig, and then it makes a proposal to DAO to say, hey, can you send funds to this multi-sig and basically recognize it as legitimate.
Gotcha. And then I'm assuming that your reputation-based members are the ones that are voting using this governor contract. I know it's not governor, but
yeah, it's not governor, but yeah,
yeah,
our governance, our governance system, yeah,
governance system. Sure, let's just call it that. So when a team makes a proposal to fund their group, it's like all of the sort of reputation or people with reputation that are voting to either approve or deny that proposal, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And then does a marketing team, or not marketing, but like do these teams themselves also spin out like smaller groups downstream? So if you want to do like marketing for one product versus marketing for another product, I'm assuming those are individual, individual groupings.
I think maybe the piece you might not be familiar with. Have you heard of holographic consensus?
I've heard of it, yes.
Yeah, because I mean, the way DXDAO basically scales decision making is via holographic consensus, and I mean, it basically is a staking game which filters proposal, so that you can actually pass things with limited attention.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and Keenan, you maybe want to share more. I don't think so. I guess Keenan is leading the DXvoice team, or sort of like what you call marketing. I think it's kind of like the most developed multi-sig that sort of like executes the most independently, right? So I don't know if you want to talk more, like to your question of whether we've spun out any other like sub organizations for DXvoice. This hasn't happened yet, but yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. Has not happened yet. We have talked about it before, but for the time being, DXvoice kind of gets authorized by the DAO, obviously through the methods that John mentioned, and we kind of operate unilaterally.
Okay, makes sense. So I don't want to spend too much time on this because it seems like you guys have a pretty stacked agenda. I mean, I could keep talking about this, of course. But just based on where it currently stands, what I'm thinking is it would be good to basically map out DXDAO's kind of like organizational architecture into pods, and that way you'll be able to see the types of relationships and powers that these principal agent relationships could hold over one another. So we basically have this visual tool that we've built out in Figma called like a podarchy, which is basically just this like visual representation of organizational design through pods. So perhaps one thing that we could do is, I can maybe have a follow-up call in more detail to understand how DXDAO is like sort of organized, and then we can start the process of mapping that into pods. And from there, I think DXDAO would get a better view or better visual of how those relationships work.
I would just say, I don't know if you're, so it sounds like you don't know much about DXDAO, but like it's been around we've been live with governance on chain since 2019. It was built on the DAO stack framework originally, right? So like, we're not starting from scratch here, but I do think there's an opportunity to maybe leverage the permissions layer that you're building to manage multi-sigs in a better way for DXDAO.
Right. Yeah. No, I know that you guys have been around for a while, and like you guys are pretty advanced when it comes to sort of on-chain governance. I think, let's see here.
Have you guys published code?
Yeah. We have a public GitHub.
Awesome. I can check that out.
Yeah, I can send you a link to that as well. Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you guys are more interested in perhaps porting over existing multi-sigs into pods so that you can take advantage of the permissions layer, which is basically the ability to manage membership of those pods, of those multi-sigs, beyond the control of the multi-sig itself.
So are the pods like a replacement for the multi-sigs, or are they actually multi-sig, Gnosis-safe multi-sigs?
They are Gnosis-safe multi-sigs. It's just that there's a permissions layer around it, and by that I mean the ability to represent membership on those on that multi-sig using NFTs, which can be burned or minted through a couple different ways. Which is like, one, that multi-sig can vote to add another seat on the multi-sig, and therefore minting a new NFT. Same with burning. Or if you want to have some additional control outside of the multisig, then you can have an admin key that can have the same powers, and that admin key can be delegated to an individual, to a broader group, to a smart contract, like a governance system. So it is like quite sort of composable with how you want those powers to work with that multisig.
Awesome. And have you worked with like Mike? So you said porting. Is that like, do you have to set up a new multisig, or can we like plug in an existing multisig into the pod system?
I believe you can plug in existing multisig, but let me double check on that because I don't want to give you false information.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Happy to follow up and check that out.
Yeah. So maybe, do you guys work primarily on like Discord or Telegram? I can set up a group with some of you guys and myself and some other people on our end, just to sort of keep this conversation going.
So I think we actually have. I just looked when I looked for your name. There is a DXDAO Orca Protocol group with John and Julia. So I guess we could just like use that one.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I'll have Jules just add me to that chat then.
Yeah. Let me see if I can add you right now. You might need to allow me to, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if anyone else wants, here's like the invite link. I'll paste it here in the chat. I think.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, last time we talked was almost a year ago. It's pretty cool.
Time flies. Great. Well, I think that's kind of a basic overview for pods and for Orca Protocol. Just kind of like open up a line of communication, see if there's sort of interest on your side to use pods. And so to me, the next step is, I guess, talking in more detail about porting existing multisigs over into pods and exploring whether or not the permissions layer that is granted would be beneficial for DXDAO.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, so I guess we can continue the conversation in the Telegram. And yeah, if you want to share that Figma in there as well.
Yeah,
have a look.
I'll share a few links that I think would be helpful, including the GitHub repo as well.
Yeah. Anyone else has any comments, any questions? I think a few people like unmuted during the conversation here. All right.
Yeah. I have some, but I'm gonna ask him in the follow-up conversations. I have some like other questions related to how you could use this in a valuable way, but it might be too deep for this. So I'll follow up with you. Thanks.
Yeah, sounds good, man. I mean, if you just want to ask in the Telegram chat, feel free to do that, or you can hit me up individually.
Great.
Yeah. All right, awesome. So thanks, Frog Monkey. Thanks for the time. And we'll continue the discussions in the Telegram chat.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
For sure. Up next, we have DXGov product suite and Road to Gov 2.0. I don't know if the Gov team is here, but yeah.
Yeah, I might have to skip that item.
Yeah. All right, and then so we have like under DX events, we have ECC coming up. Did anyone get a ticket?
Tickets are on Wednesday, I think.
Yeah, I mean the first batch
tickets last week.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is like the second batch, no? Yeah.
Yeah, there was a couple early bird opportunities. I think they were really botted, so I'm not sure how many real people got them, and they were talking about how they were, invalidating a whole bunch of tickets from that first round.
Yeah. Oh, Zach got one. Nice.
Yeah, it said it is a robot though, so I don't know. Probably unfair comparison.
Yeah. Oh, also Nathan. Yeah. So, do we have any plans for ECC as it stands right now?
Can we just circle back to the tickets really fast? I think that since
Yeah.
tickets are running out so quickly, or I'm not sure what's happening, we should try and do some type of like group sales. I mean, I think that might be like a good strategy where we buy 5 tickets in one. If people are interested in doing that, and then obviously anybody who does do it will be automatically reimbursed by DXDAO. Is like anybody, oh, Dave's bank was blocked his. Is anybody interested in doing that, and we'll reimburse them? No one.
I'm happy to try. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'm happy to also try. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm going to make it, but worst case, I'll give it to you guys, but I can try.
Okay, cool. Dave prefers to work his own. That's fine. Okay, so John, you'll try and do a group sale. And is anybody else feel comfortable doing it? And we'll reimburse you.
Yeah, I will also try.
Okay. And Nylon.
Yeah, and is it using Stripe again, or is it using crypto?
I don't think they
Stripe.
released that. Stripe. Okay.
They are using Stripe. Okay,
Yeah, that was the reason they didn't do the sale last week, or maybe the week before now. Yeah, Stripe or Polygon.
I feel like selling tickets to a crypto conference in Web2, whatever platform it's kind of, I don't know, doesn't sit well, I guess. But yeah.
And in addition to that, everybody should still be trying to get tickets on their own, because it's very difficult. So thanks, John. Thanks, Nylon. And then everybody be on your computer right when sales go out.
This is Wednesday at what time?
It should be, I can go check that now. I think 9 a.m. PST. So I think it's 1600 UTC.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah. And then also for ECC, so I guess it's a little hard to plan and devise a strategy until people have tickets, but this seems to be happening more and more. But determining what kind of DXDAO strategy is, if maybe we should have a happy hour, or if we could try another carrot, some type of carrot campaign. Any ideas for that, or variations of what we did, or new ideas. If you have any ideas, please propose them in the chat, and so we can start to think about some unique DXDAO thing that we can do in Paris, and we don't do it last minute. Like obviously it's May now, but these things approach quickly, and if we did something with Carrot, we want to do this have it set up pretty far ahead of time. And if there's some kind of event or happy hour or other gathering that we are thinking about, we should also start planning that rather soon. And
are we open to doing like an event or like this happy hour with someone, with like another or like a few other companies?
If we're aligned, yes, yeah.
So like just as an example, like who would be interesting for that? Like, is the companies that we work with, like Tenderly? I believe like they're probably going to be hosting an event.
Why not? Yeah, we can explore. Yeah.
I kind of feel like these are the things that need to happen like now.
Do you have a channel with them, or?
pretty
Yeah,
sure we have a channel name.
the other thing is that obviously ETHCC, which I believe is 2 days, maybe 3 days, is that main event. As we know, there will be all these other events that pop up around it. And yeah, keep an eye out on where the opportunities are for DXDAO or a contributor from DXDAO to participate and potentially speak or present or be a part of those activities. That was, that in Amsterdam, that was, there was a whole bunch of people that were able to participate in all the different series of events, and that's, seems to be an effective way to spread awareness of DXDAO and its products and things. And so, like last year at ECC, yeah, Elon gave a presentation, which was great. And so if there's more opportunities within ECC, and then Nathan asked also, yeah, we did the ETH VC track last year. Last year it was interesting. It wasn't as, it didn't lead to much in the space. There were a bunch of kind of projects that pitched almost like a demo day. It was interesting to be a part of, but it didn't lead to, it wasn't very DAO product focused. That was part of the problem, is the things that were being presented could be all different random ideas, and a lot of those are not relevant to something like DXDAO. So if there was one that was like really focused on DAOs, and maybe they will be more focused on DAOs because everyone's talking about DAOs these days, it could be interesting. So it's another thing to explore if we wanted to participate in that again and have a representative. But yeah, I'm sure there'll be other, I don't think there's going to be a DAOist, but there could be other DAO focused events that happen in Paris, and we should keep an eye out for those.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Anything else about ECC? I guess we should be on the lookout for, like, I don't know, our partner sort of, companies that we could maybe host an event with, because I think it's great because it like takes the load off of like some of the people here. Yeah, and then yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, on the event organizing, it's almost like we would need like a full-time event planner person for this kind of thing, because we're like fresh off of Dev Connect. We also have to worry about like DevCon, and we also, none of us are like really like dedicated to events and have our regular responsibility. So it's like, there's a lot. I think there's a lot to that stuff, and it's almost like you'd need somebody full-time to focus on it.
There are people who are actually just like sort of organize events in these crypto stuff. Like what's her name? Sky. You know her as well. Amber. Like, we could probably talk to her, and she could help us just like take responsibility of all the DXDAO events, the things.
Yeah, usually those things, I would say, in average, they have big budgets. Like if DXDAO is going to organize its own event, it depends if you're doing like one whole day or something. Are you talking about a party?
Yeah, I mean, what she does usually is like, she organizes the party, and then there are a bunch of like sponsors.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, it's more on the party side, which I think it's a nice event, but I like the happy hour more, where people could actually talk and not scream over each other. So yeah, I don't know. I could chat with her and see what she's up to. So yeah, that's that. Yeah, I guess so. The next topics we have is DX Hack, and I guess DevCon Bogota. I'm probably not going to make it, but yeah, if anyone else wants to talk about this, some of the plans.
There is an on-chain proposal people could vote on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I'll just give like a high level. There's a lot of moving parts. Nathan's referring to an on-chain proposal to pay some money for Lateral to continue to explore the DX hackathon, which could happen that early weekend during DevCon, and then also a DXDAO retreat, and whether those things should be together as part of the same proposal. Maybe those should be separated. But this is to explore both of those ideas further, not to actually do them. We realized through talking, like, there's a lot of exploration that needs to be done, because these things can be very big, they can be small. We have to gauge interest, we have to know whether it's possible, and venues and things like that. So it's an interesting idea, and it needs in this proposal is should this be explored further, and there's a cost to that. And so please vote on that proposal. Separately, this thing's going to come very quickly as well, but lodging and being in Bogota, and there's all these moving parts around, and we don't even know about tickets for DevCon yet. That's going to be like a whole nother thing. But there's a chat. There's now a Keybase specifically focused on DevCon, and we've been chatting about options for where people can stay down there. And there's a couple, international hotels like, Hilton and another one that are very close to the venue that are a little bit more expensive than like the average random hotel in Bogota, or some of those are very cheap. But then there's other hotels, like some of the nicer ones in the nice neighborhood can be like an hour and a half walk from the DevCon venue. And so we were thinking, and I don't know how many people in the space are thinking about this currently, because people in the space, usually wait till the last minute. But we're thinking about securing some hotel rooms in the venue, in the hotel that's right next to the DevCon venue, and that seems important. And if one way to do that is just everyone to like do that on their own, we can share that hotel. We can, have everyone secure their own rooms and get the refundable fee, which you pay up a little bit, but you'll have the option to adjust the dates, to cancel the booking, to potentially switch the person on the booking if needed. But everyone should start to at least think about the lodging options during that event. There's the main DevCon dates, and then there's DevCon week, which is a longer period, and there's potentially the hackathon before that, and the potentially a retreat after that. But that retreat might not be in Bogota itself. So if you think you're going to come, if you're interested in DevCon, please join that Keybase channel where this discussion is happening, and then maybe take some action to at least look into your flights, or potential flights and potential lodging options, so that you have something secured for when this thing comes up. And if you have any questions, like Melanie or myself or John, probably feel free to reach out. But it's something that you should start thinking about already, because there's an unknown down there, because it's down in Colombia, and the venue's in a specific place. The venue's amazing. It sounds like that's why they picked this place, because the venue is like this amazing brand new high-tech venue, but it's not in like the regular middle neighborhood. It's more in like maybe the student area or something. What channel on Keybase? There's a DevCon channel. So I think one of the owners of the channel has to add you, so I can add you, Adam. But if anyone else wants to know, just ask in another channel to be added, and someone will add you. I don't know if Melanie or someone else, if you had anything else to add.
Yeah. And so just adding on to that, it's going to be in Bogota, Colombia. Just the dates of DevCon specifically is like October, or DevCon week is October 11th through the 16th. So like Sky was saying, we would do like the hackathon beforehand and then the retreat after. It definitely would require a lot of planning. So if you're interested, just reach out. I know that, booking hotels and flights, it's it comes at a cost. So, we don't mind, giving contributors, reimbursing them ahead of time if you guys don't want to cover the cost up front. But this is a conversation we can have. But let's start diving deeper into the details of this as soon as possible, because October is going to come up quickly. As you already know, ECC is in 2 months. And then if there are any other conferences we want to participate in, I think that we need to just get moving quickly on it. But reach out to myself or Sky or John if you're interested. It would be great to have like a huge participation at DevCon.
Do you guys know, is DevCon like from past ones an opportunity for, like, is there a opportunity for DXDAO to sponsor it? And what does that mean, like, to sponsor DevCon? Does it mean you get to talk? Does it mean you just get your name there? Or does anyone know?
Yeah.
I'm
sorry, what,
Sorry.
Dave?
You get guaranteed tickets. It's a good way to get guaranteed tickets.
Yeah, so I've actually reached out already to Joseph Schweitzer. He does comms at DevCon, and I've already asked him about potentially sponsoring DevCon. I reached out to him last week, and he said that there's a long list, but he's gonna send me some communications around it. He didn't release any other specific details, but I think that we should also apply to be speakers. Anybody who's interested to do that as well, because
from previous, it's not pay to play. If you sponsor, you don't get a speaking spot. At least that's how it was in the past when we sponsored with Winding Tree. Which is good.
But yeah, I don't think they've released a lot of comms around it yet. So, but I've already expressed interest to them for us sponsoring. I do suspect the sponsorship will be a lot of money though. Because I'm sure a lot of projects are going to want to sponsor. How much did you guys pay at Winding Tree before, Dave?
I honestly, a shot in the dark, I would say 40K maybe. But I really can't remember. It was a long time ago. It was in Cancun and in Prague, I think.
Yeah, and the other ideas, like the DX hackathon idea, which would have a significant cost, if that were to go forward, part of that is use money that could potentially be sponsorship of DevCon, and instead organize a DXDAO focused 2 or 3 day event for part of that cost plus some more cost, but it would be a lot more specific focus for DXDAO rather than just being one of the sponsors of DevCon.
Awesome. So I guess we have a few more minutes. Do you want to talk about NIMI? I said this is under DX Ventures opportunities. I wasn't personally following on what's happening. I wasn't available late last week, but I don't know if anyone wants to shed more light here. Maybe the NIMI team.
So update on what's going on with NIMI. I think it's Adam, Milan, Dave, working kind of on the side nights, weekends, a little part-time to get a slightly improved version out, which will be something like a decentralized link tree. And then there's also some, a couple of VCs reached out, we actually talked to Dragonfly, not their senior partners, but they were the junior partners, and a couple others that had reached out. So there's some thinking about raising from, I guess the best would be strategic partners. So it might be interesting to think about would DXDAO be interested in putting some money in. Now could be a good way to started off. We could open that to discussion if people are interested.
Yeah, well, when I added it to the agenda, that was actually what I was leaning to. DX Ventures, we don't want to be left out. We love Nimi, so DXDAO has to support it, and in any way possible, whether that's financial backing or.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, like DXDAO obviously has already supported Nimi, like in that it's all like so far been built by DXDAO contributors. And yeah, so like I think we still have to like figure out like how to structure it, like what's the valuation, that sort of thing, right? But I think we should start exploring that as soon as we can.
Nice.
What about? I guess we talked about this last time, but what about doing something like the Gnosis spin out things, and then obviously like DX Ventures would be participating in the investment. Maybe there's like an extra token allocation to the DXDAO. I don't know, like it's kind of like your decision. And yeah, the spin out process will include raising from like external funds, whatever contributors, maybe trying to get even investment from ENS. I think that could be very interesting, or a grant from ENS for that matter.
Yeah, I would probably maybe like spin out makes me think of like Safe or CowSwap or Swapper, where it's been funded and developed for a period of time by like exclusive.
Oh, did he die on me? Is it just me?
No, I think we lost him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can hear John.
Yeah, I think like spinning out. I mean, you need a product first. Like those spin outs like Swapper, CowSwap, and Safe are like products that have been developed by a massive team for a number of years, right? This is like new idea is more like incubate. How do you incubate this idea? It's a brand new idea. There's no product. There's a very little MVP. What is a future plan for where that product could go? And like also, would it be a business? Would it be just a fun little gadget that the world can use? Is it a public good? Those things need to be defined, and then you can start to think about like, do you need to get grants for it from DXDAO and other people? Do you need to get investment? Do you need to who's going to work on it? Was the team? So there's all those questions that would need to be answered before it's like, would DX Ventures want to do something like that? It's not even close to that yet. Yeah.
Sorry, can you hear me now? I guess I got cut off right as I was saying stuff. And so I've also missed some of what Sky was saying too, but I think maybe I was saying something similar where it's like the spin out is like when it's been built for a while by an entity like Safe or CowSwap. It sounded like maybe Sky was saying that, right? But yeah. So, but no, I mean, I think I was also saying that it should definitely be like a net positive in a big way for DXDAO, like whatever happens, if it goes anywhere. So.
Yeah, I'd be interested to explore. So there's a question here of, okay, if we're raising money now, like if Nimi raises money now, I guess that could make sense. So like, let's say, there's a money raised from like individuals, VCs, whatever, and then there's a period where maybe the original team focuses on this. Maybe there's like extra support from the DXDAO, and then I don't know, after an X amount of months, then there's the whole spin out process, and yeah, like the token launch and stuff like that. I don't know. I guess there needs to be like a deeper dive into something like that, but yeah, I don't know. Interesting to explore.
Yeah, definitely, and that sort of I guess depends like what's the relationship to like outside capital if that happens, right? Like, does that make sense? I actually think it could be a good idea. One, because I think like it helps strategically to have other backers, right, that are like, aligned with the product and like pushing it forward. And it helps with like creating attention, which helps with recruiting. I think there's a lot of benefits to it. I also think that the private markets right now, even though the public markets are sort of like falling through the floor, the private markets lag, right? So all this VC money is like locked and loaded, and the valuations are pretty like big right now. Now that like doesn't necessarily mean that you should go and take it, right? I was actually talking with, like one of the portfolio projects from DX Ventures about this. Like, you could go out and potentially raise at like a higher valuation, but that's a double-edged sword, right? Because it sets expectations a lot higher, right? Like VCs need you to exit like 10 to 30x what they invest at, right? That's just like how the math works. They're not interested in a doubling of their money. Like they will literally like tell you to go back to the drawing board and like figure out something else if like that's what you're suggesting to them. So when you raise it like higher valuations, like you're just setting the sights that much higher and like kind of maybe limiting the potential outcomes that could be successful, right? So it's like a double-edged sword, but if there's something really big that you want to do, I think it can make a lot of sense. And yeah. And I think there's a lot of interest out there. There's like a lot of capital out there right now. There's a lot of interest in maybe this type of thing. So I think it depends, but we should figure it out with DX Ventures and stuff and try to get something like a framework that we would want to work with, like kind of laid out. I would say sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I will say that on the sort of like, I call it the level of froth, right? How like, VCs wanting to invest and stuff like that. I think, like Paradigm raised $3.5 billion, Andreessen Horowitz raised like $3 billion, and like many other funds raised a lot of money. And like they have to deploy that. Like the terms of that is usually like within 3 to 4 years, they have to deploy most of that capital.
Yeah.
And it's like they have to.
Yeah, exactly. And valuations are not like determined by like, the individuals at a firm or like the startup itself, right? It's set by the market, right? Like,
yeah,
they want to get into want to get into these deals. There's deals that they want to get into, and like it's a competitive thing, right? And so like right now you're seeing, like pre-seed seeds are like getting $10 million, $20 million valuations, like up to like $50 million valuations for like seed projects, right? And yeah, so I mean they're big, and they can go a lot higher if you have like experienced teams and like deals with any kind of momentum. And that's going to lag the public markets, right? Like if the public market just like goes into a bear market, like that will take the air out of the VC funding as well, but it'll take like 6 months for that to happen, or more.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. It's interesting. We should talk more about it and see how we could structure this in a way that's great for DXDAO.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's like a call planned specifically to talk about Nimi, but happy to join that.
Yeah, we don't have anything planned, but we could do something for sure.
Great. It was a good chat. Shouldn't drag it more.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess you can turn the recording off, and thank you.